10% 500. My grandpa flew from Colorado, same grandpa that I moved in with, bonded me out right then.
You going bounty hunting?
Yeah.
You gonna catch somebody?
Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna need these?
Oh, thank you. Fingerprints. Let's see who's the hair.
Get him. That's fine.
Don't you worry.
Fine.
I'm done.
Dog the Bounty Hunter is known to millions as a fearless fugitive hunter, a man with a towering presence, a gravelly voice, and an image that commands instant respect. On television, he appears unshakable, relentless, almost myth-like. But the truth behind that persona is far more complicated. Behind the cameras, behind the sunglasses, lies a life shaped by violence, loss, rebellion, and constant reinvention. To understand Dog, you have to start long before fame ever found him. Dwayne Chapman was born on February 2nd, 1953, in Denver, Colorado, into a working-class household ruled by strict discipline. His father, Wesley Chapman, was a Korean War veteran and welder, a man hardened by conflict and known for his explosive temper. Wesley believed toughness was the only way to survive in the world, and he enforced that belief through fear and punishment. Physical discipline was common, and emotional warmth was nearly non-existent. Dog's mother, Barbara Chapman, tried to balance that harsh environment with faith. She worked as a Sunday school teacher and attempted to raise her children with strong moral values. But religion alone couldn't bring peace to a household filled with tension. Years later, Dog would reflect on his childhood and realize something painful. What he experienced wasn't normal. At the time, though, he didn't know any other life. Wesley, nicknamed Flash for his boxing ability, began training Dog to fight at a young age. The intention was to toughen him up, to prepare him for a cruel world. But instead of feeling protected, Dog felt unloved. All he ever wanted was his father's approval, something that never seemed to come. By the age of 15, Dog reached his breaking point. He ran away from home and fell into a world that felt dangerous but freeing. He joined an outlaw motorcycle gang known as the Devil's Disciples, a 1% club that prided itself on rejecting society's rules. For a boy raised under strict religion and control, the gang offered something intoxicating: belonging. Ironically, it was within this outlaw world that Dog earned the name that would follow him forever. After standing up for his faith during a confrontation, another biker remarked that Dog was God spelled backward. The nickname stuck, a symbol of contradiction that perfectly captured who he was becoming. Faith and rebellion, violence and belief, chaos and loyalty. But this life came with consequences. In the early 1970s, Dog met his first wife, LaFonda Sue Darnell. They married young, chasing stability that neither of them truly understood. After moving frequently, they eventually settled in Pampa, Texas, LaFonda's hometown. On the surface, it looked like Dog was building a normal life. Behind the scenes, though, trouble was brewing. Dog's involvement in risky behavior didn't stop after marriage. Money problems, criminal associations, and impulsive decisions followed him everywhere. And in 1976, one reckless choice would change everything. At just 23 years old, Dog became involved in a robbery targeting a local drug dealer. The plan was simple: steal narcotics and get out. But nothing went as planned. During the robbery, one member of the group fired a weapon, fatally shooting the victim. Dog didn't pull the trigger, but under the law, that didn't matter. He had supplied the weapon and participated in the crime. When police arrived, the dying victim identified Dog before being rushed to the hospital, where he later died. Within hours, law enforcement surrounded Dog's home. He attempted to flee through the back door, but it was over. Dog was arrested, charged, and eventually convicted. In 1977, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in the crime. His young family was shattered, his future erased. Inside the Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville, Dog faced the reality of who he had become. Prison was brutal, unforgiving, and transformative. One day, he witnessed another inmate attempt a desperate escape. Guards moved in with deadly force, and Dog stepped between them, risking his own life to stop the violence. That moment changed something inside him. A corrections officer recognized his courage, and for the first time in his life, Dog felt respected for doing the right thing. It planted a seed, the idea that maybe he could use his strength for something other than destruction. After serving 18 months, Dog was released on parole in 1979. He walked out of prison with nothing. No money, no family, no direction, but with one powerful realization. He didn't want to come back. But freedom didn't bring peace. LaFonda filed for divorce. Dog was buried under massive child support debt. Employers wanted nothing to do with a convicted felon. Just when it seemed like there were no options left, an unlikely figure stepped in, the very judge who had sentenced him. The judge saw something in Dog: determination, problem-solving skills, instinct. He suggested a career that sounded almost absurd: bounty hunting. At first, it felt impossible. Dog couldn't carry firearms. He couldn't leave the country. His criminal record followed him everywhere. But he was desperate. And desperate people take risks. That decision marked the beginning of a transformation few believed possible. Yet while Dog's career slowly took shape, his personal life remained a battlefield, one filled with rushed marriages, heartbreak, and loss. And this was only the beginning. After prison, Dog's life moved fast, too fast. In an attempt to escape legal trouble involving a relationship with a minor, he made a decision he would later admit was impulsive: marriage. It wasn't built on love or understanding, but on fear and pressure. Still, they started a family, welcoming children into the world. Then, tragedy struck. Their first child died shortly after birth, a loss that shattered both parents. Grief seeped into everything. The marriage collapsed under the weight of trauma, addiction, and instability. By 1982, it was over. Worse still, Dog lost custody of his children, a pain that followed him for decades. Determined to reconnect with his sons from his first marriage, Dog traveled to Colorado, and there he met another woman. Their relationship moved quickly, as so many of his did. They married, had children, and tried to build a future together. But their visions of life couldn't have been more different. Dog craved excitement, fame, and risk. She wanted peace and quiet. Hollywood called to him, the countryside called to her. By 1991, that marriage too had ended. Even before the divorce was final, another woman had entered Dog's life: Tawny Marie. Their relationship began professionally after Dog arrested her on drug charges and later hired her as a receptionist. Professional lines blurred. Emotions escalated. Eventually, they married. But Tawny struggled with substance abuse, and Dog admits he wasn't faithful. When his mother passed away, Dog spiraled deeper into addiction and emotional collapse. Their marriage didn't survive. Then came Beth Smith. Their first meeting was anything but romantic. Beth was behind bars on minor charges and called Dog for help with bail. Instead of rushing to free her, he sent paperwork by bus, leaving her incarcerated for hours. When she finally walked into his office, angry and determined, something electric passed between them. Beth later admitted she decided in that moment she was going to make him hers. Their relationship wasn't easy. Dog was still battling addiction, juggling other relationships, and haunted by his past. By 1997, she, Dog, and his children were living together, forming a family that looked unconventional but felt real. Together they built Dakine bail bonds, and their reputation grew fast. In 2003, Dog made the arrest that would define his career. Andrew Luster, heir to the Max Factor fortune and a fugitive convicted of dozens of sexual assault charges. Dog tracked him to Mexico, captured him after a tense chase, and instantly became a national figure. But the victory came at a cost. Mexican authorities arrested Dog and his team, accusing them of kidnapping. Lustre was extradited to the U.S. to serve a 125-year sentence, while Dog sat in a Mexican jail, denied bail. Beth went public. Media attention exploded. Public support surged. Eventually, Dog was released on bail and fled Mexico, making him an international fugitive. 3 years later, U.S. Marshals arrested Dog, Leland, and Tim Chapman in Hawaii. Politicians intervened. Legal battles dragged on. Finally, in 2007, the charges were dismissed due to the statute of limitations. Dog was free, but shaken. Around the same time, Dog the Bounty Hunter premiered on television. The show was an instant hit. Viewers weren't just watching arrests, they were watching redemption. Dog talked fugitives into surrender. Beth stood strong beside him. The family dynamic captivated audiences. But Dog's fiery nature followed him into fame. In 2007, a private phone call leaked, one containing repeated racial slurs. The backlash was swift. The network suspended the show. Dog apologized publicly, expressing deep remorse. After investigation, the show returned, but the stain remained. Despite massive ratings, the network later canceled the series, shocking fans. Dog and Beth moved on, launching new shows and advocating for the bail bond industry as laws began to change. Dog became increasingly vocal, politically, socially, controversially. Then, in 2017, everything stopped. Beth was diagnosed with cancer. Beth faced cancer the only way she knew how, head-on. Surgery offered hope. For a moment, it seemed she'd won. But the cancer returned, spreading to her lungs. On June 26, 2019, Beth Chapman passed away. Dog was devastated. He admitted later that he considered ending his life. The grief was unbearable. Medical bills drained his savings. He struggled to pay his mortgage. Without Beth, everything felt heavier, emptier. Soon after, Dog began experiencing chest pains and shortness of breath. He ignored it at first, blaming grief. But doctors discovered a life-threatening pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in his lungs. After decades of heavy smoking, his body was finally collapsing. With help from doctors, Dog quit smoking and committed to surviving, even if he didn't know why yet. He returned to bounty hunting, starring in Dog's Most Wanted. One intense capture after Beth's death showed him still fighting, still moving forward. But controversy followed again. 7 months after Beth's passing, rumors swirled about a relationship with a longtime family friend. A public proposal fueled backlash from his children. The relationship never led to marriage. Then Dog met Frayne, a widow who had lost her husband to cancer. Their bond grew from shared grief. In 2021, they married, marking another new beginning. New projects followed. Lawsuits came and went. Tax debts mounted. Dog sold property to stay afloat. Public outbursts reignited criticism. Today, Dog calls himself a Christian outlaw. He still hunts fugitives, but says his mission has changed. He wants to save souls now, not just capture criminals. Dog the Bounty Hunter's life has been messy, controversial, painful, and undeniably human. Love built him. Loss merely destroyed him. And survival forced him to change. And somehow, the story continues.